The light of distant stars reflected off the polished obsidian walls of the mobile palace. Supreme ruler, floating between conquered star clusters. The massive structure cast shadows across entire worlds. Inside, Tien Han stood motionless before the vast viewing window, watching as another planetary system surrendered to his unstoppable armada. Known as the most ruthless general in the galaxy, Tien Han had built his reputation on the annihilation of the Steel Isle of Orion. The battle had lasted mere hours, but the aftermath, billions dead. A once thriving ecosystem reduced to ash had cemented his legend. In the millennia since the Nebula Sixfold Alliance had fractured, no warlord had amassed such power. "Another world for your collection, my lord," announced Admiral Van Han, approaching with measured steps. "The inhabitants offer tribute and unconditional surrender." Tien Han didn't turn. His eyes, enhanced with cybernetic implants that glowed amber in the dim light, remained fixed on the distant planets. Add it to the registry. Standard terms of subjugation. "There is one other matter, my lord." The admiral's voice faltered slightly. "We intercepted something unusual. A physical communication. Handwritten." This caught Tien Han's attention. He turned slowly, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the command deck. "Handwritten? From whom?" "Unknown, my lord. From a world we've never catalogued. But—" Van Han hesitated. "It mentions something only you would know." Tien Han's expression remained impassive, but his cybernetic eyes flickered briefly, a rare display of emotion. "Bring it to my chambers, immediately." As the admiral departed, Tien Han returned his gaze to the stars. Physical communication had become obsolete centuries ago. Only the most primitive or isolated cultures still employed such methods. Yet something stirred within him, a distant memory he had long suppressed. In his private quarters, surrounded by trophies from 1,000 conquered worlds, Tien Han examined the letter's holographic projection. The admiral had been wise not to bring the original. Assassination attempts were common in his empire. The handwriting was delicate, flowing, reminiscent of a style he had not seen since childhood. The message was brief. "Do you remember the blue flowers that grew in the ashes? They still bloom here, waiting for you to return. The promise remains." Tien Han's hand trembled slightly. The blue flowers, ashen blooms that had somehow survived on his devastated homeworld, no one knew of them except Lyra, he whispered, the name unfamiliar on his lips after decades of silence. He immediately summoned his generals. "Find the origin of this message. Use whatever resources necessary. I want answers within the rotation cycle." The order set in motion a cascade of events. Intelligence officers traced quantum signatures. Assassins infiltrated border worlds seeking information. Loyalists and double agents alike scrambled to uncover the mystery of the letter. Meanwhile, internal opposition grew. General Fong, long ambitious for Tien Han's position, began questioning the diversion of resources for what he called a sentimental pursuit. Others whispered that the warlord had finally lost his tactical mind, chasing ghosts from the past. As the investigation continued, Tien Han retreated into rare solitude. Memories he had buried beneath decades of conquest began to surface. He remembered a desolate planet, ravaged by wars that had begun before his birth. A childhood spent scavenging amid ruins, fighting for survival. And a girl named Lyra, whose smile somehow defied the bleakness around them. "We'll escape someday," she had promised, pointing to the stars. "We'll find a place where blue flowers grow everywhere, not just in ashes." They had been mere children, dreaming impossible dreams. Then came the day when opportunity arrived in the form of a recruiting ship. A chance for one child, only one, to leave the dying world. "Take it," Lyra had insisted, pressing a crude blue flower into his hand. "Remember me when you reach the stars." He had taken the chance and never looked back. The boy who left that day discarded his birth name, eventually becoming Tien Han, the galaxy's conqueror. The memories of Lyra, the blue flowers, the promises made, all had been locked away, sacrificed for power. Until now, 3 weeks into the search, Admiral Van Han brought concerning news. My lord, we've located the source planet. It's in the Outer Rim, a small world called Amazonas Prime. But there's more. General Fong has mobilized his fleet without authorization. He's heading there now. Tian Han's response was immediate and severe. Prepare the Supreme Ruler for transit. Alert all loyal commanders. Fong has sealed his fate. As the massive palace ship tore through space toward the mysterious planet, Tian Han faced another challenge. The messenger from the Remnant Alliance, Zhu Li, had somehow gained access to his inner sanctum. Impressive security breach. Tian Han noted coldly, not bothering to call for guards. State your purpose before I have you executed. The messenger stood tall despite the threat. I come with a warning, Conqueror. This pursuit of yours, it's known throughout the galaxy now. Your enemies gather, your allies question. Is one letter worth the collapse of all you've built? You presume to understand my motives. I understand that even conquerors have weaknesses. This letter has exposed yours. Tian Han studied the messenger. You fight for justice, for peace, ideals I abandoned long ago. Yet here you stand, warning me rather than exploiting this supposed weakness. Perhaps I believe that even you can change. The letter affected you. Something of your humanity remains. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. General Fong's forces had begun bombardment of Amazonas Prime. The planet's defenses were failing. It seems your warning comes too late, Tian Han said, rising. Now you'll witness my response to betrayal. The Supreme Ruler arrived at Amazonas Prime amidst chaos. General Fong's fleet had the small planet surrounded, weapons raining destruction upon its surface. The general had correctly guessed that this mysterious world held something his master valued. What he had not anticipated was Tian Han's fury. Without warning, the Supreme Ruler deployed its primary weapon, the Sun's Eye, a biological weapon that Tian Han had developed himself. The targeted beam struck Fong's flagship, dissolving its molecular structure in seconds. The remaining ships of the rebellious fleet received a simple message. Surrender or join your general. The rebellion collapsed instantly. With the immediate threat neutralized, Tian Han prepared to descend to the planet's surface. Admiral Van Han approached cautiously. My lord, initial scans show minimal technology. The population appears peaceful, primarily agricultural. There are signs of recent damage from Fong's attack, but the casualties are fewer than expected. They seem to have underground shelters. Survivors of previous wars adapt quickly. Tian Han noted, prepare a landing party, minimal armament. I will lead personally. Is that wise, my lord? After Fong's betrayal, the letter writer knew me, Van Han, knew things only one person could know. This is not a trap, it's a reunion. The landing party descended through the atmosphere of Amazonas Prime, touching down in a valley surrounded by dense forest. The vegetation was unlike anything in Tian Han's vast experience. Vibrant blues and purples dominated instead of the typical greens. As they exited their craft, he understood immediately. The entire ecosystem had evolved around the same blue flowers he remembered from childhood. Here, they weren't struggling survivors in ash, they were the foundation of a thriving world. A small delegation approached from a nearby settlement. They wore simple clothing but moved with dignity. At their head walked an elderly woman, her white hair contrasting with dark skin marked by age. Despite the years, Tian Han recognized her instantly. Lyra. She smiled, the expression creating a web of wrinkles around eyes that still sparkled with the same determination he remembered. You came. After all these years, you finally came. Tian Han dismissed his guards with a gesture, approaching her alone. You sent the letter knowing it would draw me here, knowing what I've become. Why? Because I made a promise to a boy who left that I would wait, that someday we would find a place where blue flowers grow everywhere. She gestured to the landscape around them. I found it. And now, so have you. She held out her hand, offering a folded piece of paper, the original letter, worn with age but carefully preserved. As Teen Han took it, something unprecedented occurred. Tears formed in his cybernetic eyes, fluids seeping from implants designed to eliminate all weakness. His officers and soldiers watched in stunned silence as the most feared warlord in the galaxy wept at the touch of a simple, handwritten letter. "I built all this," Lyra explained softly, indicating the settlement behind her. "With others who escaped our world before its final collapse, we created a sanctuary based on the dreams we once shared, dreams you forgot as you conquered the stars." The weight of decades of ruthless conquest pressed upon Teen Han. Looking around, he saw what might have been a peaceful existence, a community built on cooperation rather than subjugation. "What I've done," he began, "cannot be undone," Lyra finished. "But what you do next, that choice remains yours." For the first time in his long career of conquest, Teen Han made a decision not based on strategy or power. Standing amid the blue flowers of Amazonas Prime, he gave an order that shocked the galaxy. "Stand down, all forces. This world and its people are to be protected, not conquered. Any who violate this decree answer directly to me." The following days brought dramatic changes. The supreme ruler remained in orbit, but as a guardian, rather than a threat, Teen Han ordered medical and engineering teams to assist with repairing the damage caused by Fong's attack. His officers, accustomed to leading invasions, found themselves awkwardly negotiating peace terms. Admiral Van Han adapted most readily, finding unexpected fulfillment in restoration rather than destruction. "The people here have remarkable knowledge of botanical medicine," he reported. "Their techniques could benefit many worlds in our jurisdiction." Teen Han noted the hesitation. "Not our empire. After your decree, I thought perhaps empire no longer applied." "A reasonable assumption." Teen Han looked toward the horizon, where reconstruction efforts were visible. "What would you call it instead?" "Perhaps a confederation? One where worlds retain autonomy while benefiting from mutual protection and exchange." The concept was alien to Teen Han's previous thinking, yet somehow felt right. "Begin drafting proposals. Consult with Lyra and her council. They've built something here worth learning from." The transition was not without challenges. Many of Teen Han's commanders resisted the new direction. Some attempted coups, which were swiftly and definitively crushed. Others simply departed, taking their forces to establish their own domains in distant corners of the galaxy. The messenger, July, returned several months later, this time openly invited. "The Alliance observes your changes with cautious optimism," they reported, though many remained skeptical. "As they should," Teen Han acknowledged. "Redemption is neither quick nor guaranteed." "Yet you pursue it nonetheless." "I do." "May I ask why? One letter, one memory from childhood. Is that truly enough to change a conqueror's heart?" Teen Han considered the question carefully. The letter was merely the key. It unlocked what I had buried, the understanding that power without purpose becomes its own prison. I collected worlds like trophies, yet remained hollow. And now? Now I build instead of destroy. A more difficult challenge, but perhaps a worthier one. As years passed, Amazonas Prime became the center of a new interstellar community. The feared mobile palace, supreme ruler, was permanently anchored in orbit, transformed into a center for scientific and cultural exchange. Its weapon systems were methodically dismantled, their components repurposed for exploration vessels. Teen Han remained on the planet's surface, living in a simple dwelling on the outskirts of the main settlement. There, he and Lyra would often sit among the blue flowers, speaking of the past and planning for a future neither had imagined possible. "Do you regret it?" Lyra asked him once, as they watched children playing nearby, descendants of their lost homeworld, now thriving under twin suns. "Giving up your empire?" "I regret the years wasted building it," he replied. "The lives taken, the potential destroyed. But this," he gestured to the peaceful scene before them, "this I will never regret." The letter that had changed everything remained preserved in a simple frame in Tien Han's home, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of the power of memory, of connection, of the humanity that persists even in the darkest hearts. Throughout the galaxy, the story spread, how the most feared warlord had wept at a handwritten letter, and how that moment of vulnerability had birthed an era of unprecedented peace. Some dismissed it as myth, others as strategic manipulation. But on countless worlds, people began writing letters by hand again, tangible messages of hope that even the most ruthless could remember compassion. And everywhere in the new Confederation, blue flowers were planted, thriving symbols of resilience, of life emerging from ashes, of promises kept across the vast expanse of stars. Tien Han stood at the edge of the settlement, watching as the sun set behind the distant mountains of Amazonas Prime. 30 years had passed since he had received Lyra's letter, 30 years of transformation, both personal and galactic. The supreme ruler still orbited above, though it now served as an academy rather than a weapon. Young scholars from across the Confederation came to study everything from interstellar diplomacy to ecological restoration. Admiral Van Han, now simply Teacher Van, served as its principal administrator. Contemplating the stars again? Lyra's voice came from behind him. Despite her advanced age, she moved with remarkable vitality, a testament to the regenerative properties of the blue flowers that had become the Confederation's most valuable export. Remembering them, Tien Han corrected. Each one I conquered, each one now finding its own path in our Confederation. Some still fear you, she said, standing beside him. The memory of the conqueror hasn't faded completely. Nor should it. History forgotten repeats itself. Their conversation was interrupted by a young messenger, a girl no older than they had been when they dreamed of escape from their dying homeworld. Elder Tien, Elder Lyra, she said, bowing respectfully. A ship has arrived. They say they're from beyond the outer rim. Tien Han and Lyra exchanged glances. No contact had ever been established beyond the rim. It was considered unnavigable. Perhaps, Lyra suggested with a smile that recalled their childhood adventures. It's time for one more journey. Tien Han looked upward, where the first stars were becoming visible in the darkening sky. Once, he had seen them only as prizes to be claimed. Now, they represented infinite possibilities, endless mysteries yet to be explored. Yes, he agreed, taking her weathered hand in his. One more journey together. As they walked toward the landing pad where the unknown visitors waited, blue flowers swayed in the evening breeze, no longer survivors in ashes, but thriving monuments to resilience, to friendship, to the power of a single letter to change the course of history. The former warlord who had once collected worlds like trophies now carried only one treasure: the knowledge that even the darkest heart could find its way back to the light. And somewhere in the vastness of space, that message continued to spread, star by star, world by world, one handwritten letter at a time.